Hello, loves. It's Deetra back with another love lesson. So let's get right into it. Today, this is the what do you think question. It is how do I know if this is the one? So, the way that you know that this is the one is such a process. You really, before we even get into it, let's define the soulmate and then you have your life partner. So, I have definitely been married before. I've been married once, and I know some of you watching are already married, or you've been married before, or whatever the situation is, or you may be listening. But some of us don't marry our soulmate. I know in my case, when I was young, I didn't even know about the concept of soulmate. I met my ex husband, I was 15, and it was more, it started like passion, it was just a passionate relationship. So I looked at him, I was like, oh, he's cute. And there we went. So, um, I really didn't think about the deepness of connecting with a person's soul and all of that. That just wasn't on my mind at the time. So I really got married to someone that I do definitely believe that, and we still do have a connection. We had a connection, but when it's a soul connection, that's a different thing. And I can do an entire lesson on that alone. But just what a soulmate is, but just for this what do you think question, how do you know if this is the one? I feel like when you're single, especially at the very beginning of being single, that's really your mindset. Your mindset is always thinking about, is this the one? Is that the one? What's the next boyfriend going to be like? I think women go through this more than men because I really, and please, if you're listening, please send me a comment if you disagree. But I definitely believe that women, when we are newly single, we decide that we are really going to look for certain qualities in men. We are going to do something different. We are going to make better decisions. And as a result, we will go through the process of making the list and checking them off and all of those things. Like, we've got boxes. Does he have a car? I mean, some of this stuff is like kind of low level at this point, but I'm just giving you examples of, does he have a car? Does he have a career? Does he take care of his children? Does he have children? What else do we have? Like some basic things. Does he take care of his hygiene? Some basic things. So we make a list of different things that we are looking for. And then when we go out, a lot of times we're not even sharing all of those things, all of the things that we're looking for. We are just looking for some things. So we go out and we have a good time, but at the same time, we're thinking, like, is this it? I don't know. And I have heard one of the guys I've dated, it was been a while ago, and I asked him, that was like the first guy I dated after I was divorced. And I asked him, like, what's it like to date all these different people? And he said, you're always thinking, like, can I see myself with this person? And he was so right. For me, it was, can I see myself with that person? So, really getting into the flow of, let's just get to know this person for who they are. That's kind of a tough thing. So, in the meantime, you're going through this thing like, okay, is this soul connection? Is this somebody I can see myself with? Because there's a difference. Just because it's your soulmate doesn't mean that that is the one that you end up being married to. Just because it's your soulmate does not mean that that is your life partner, because it is a choice. The person that you marry is a choice. So you really have to decide, do I want this to be my life partner, or is this somebody that I just want to date? So, how do you figure that out? So, I've got some ideas and I wanted to share them with you. And I wanted to get some feedback as well for what you're thinking about this topic. So, let's go into the soulmate. First, I believe in defining a soulmate is somebody who connects with your mind, your body, your soul, just everything. You just connect with that person. But your life partner, that is someone who is a person that you can build a life with, that it is a good business decision to be with this person. So, your soulmate, your life partner, they can be two different people, okay? So, when you're choosing a life partner, I believe that that is a decision. But your soulmate, not so much. I don't believe that you can control who you connect with mentally, physically, and spiritually. I don't believe that's something you can say, okay, I've got my boxes, they're this, they're that, and they're this, so we're connecting. That's not how that works. Like, you connect based on your previous experiences, you connect based on your heart, you connect based on what you need at that particular time, what your soul needs a lot of times is what you connect with. And personally, I believe that there's not just one soulmate. I believe that we transform and we grow. So maybe for those people that do end up with that one person and they feel like it's that one soulmate, maybe those two people, they grew together and they went down the same path. But I believe that is not always the case. And I know some of you may disagree, but that's what makes this fun. So if you disagree with this, leave a comment, send me an email. I can be reached at deetradcarter@gmail.com. So I want to hear from you what you think about soulmates. But moving on, what do you think you should do when you're choosing a life partner? Because it's such a hard decision. And I think that a lot of times we get caught up in like just wanting to have somebody, just feeling the pressures of being single, and people asking questions like, how long have you been single? Are you with someone? I want you to be happy like me. I know as soon as my friends, not all of them, but definitely at least one of them, as soon as they get with someone and they're happy, they're like, okay, now we got to hook you up. Now we got to do double dates. Now we got to do this. We've got to do that. I don't know if men go through that. Men, do you go through that? I don't know. But anyway, women, that's what we go through. Is when our friends are with someone and that is their lifestyle, they really want to connect us because they don't want to lose their friends. They want to do stuff with their friends. So a lot of times when you are not in a relationship, you don't really get to do things with your friends that are in a relationship because they want to do double dates. Nobody wants to feel like the third wheel, all of that good stuff. So that being said, it creates a little tension sometimes when your friends get into relationships. So it's always like a topic and something to think about. So you really have to be comfortable in your own skin with being single. And that's one of the reasons why I started this love lesson series because I really had to get comfortable with being single. And now that I am getting comfortable with it, I'm starting to see that it's such a big decision and we're all different. So some people make that decision quicker and some people take more time to make that decision. Totally forgot to put my light on. So here we are. So some people, they take more time to make that decision. So this is what I have figured out. There's just three things that I believe that helps with making that decision. So the first thing is knowing your deal breakers, knowing your values. What is it that you absolutely cannot move on? Like certain things you just cannot compromise. What are those things? And I have done another video on your deal breakers. And I know if you're newly single, say you've been divorced, you just broke up, and you've been in a long term relationship, it's a lot to think about because you've been with that one person so long, and you're like, I don't know, what are my deal breakers? So, no pressure to make this long list of deal breakers, but what I will tell you is that start to think about what your deal breakers are. What are your values? So usually, if you expect certain things from yourself, then you'll expect those things from your mate as well. So that's a good place to start. Number one is knowing your deal breakers. Number two is once you figure out, okay, these are the things I will tolerate, these are the things I'm not willing to tolerate, then you've got to really go within. So it's such a big decision that you really have to use your spiritual practice. For me, I practice Christianity. So I pray and I ask God, like, God, what is it? What is your position about this person in my life? Is this a person that needs to be a friend? Is this a person that could be positioned for a life, like a life partner? um, what is this role? What role does this person have in my life? Sometimes God will send people, and they could be from the opposite sex, to just minister to you, to just serve you in that time, in that place. They may be a friend to you in a time of need. They may be um, a person to give you advice. They may be a person that leads you in the right direction. So just because you may be physically attracted to that person, or not, but just because you're physically attracted to that person or that person's attracted to you, that does not mean that they should even be considered. And sometimes when you have a lot of people coming at you, approaching you, wanting to date you, and things like that, it can be a little tough. It definitely can be a little tough because you cannot date everybody. So you really have to think about what is it that I believe that would add to my life at this time. So for one, know your deal breakers, examine your own values. Who are you? Because who you are, you attract who you are a lot of times. So if you're wondering, like, why does this type of person keep getting my attention? Maybe because you have similar qualities as that person. So if you don't like certain things that you're seeing in other people, then you need to check yourself. You need to ask yourself, what is it that I need to change, right? So that's how you figure out your deal breakers. Then you've got to go within, and you've got to really, whether you want to do it through a spiritual practice such as prayer and meditation, which I am a firm believer in, or just checking your gut. Like, what is that feeling that you have when you think about that person? Is this a person that you can see yourself with as a lifelong partner, or is this a person that you're like, I just, I can't see it. Like, I can't, I can't see it. I can't see you even being bae, honestly. Like, before anyone else, like, I just don't see it. So you have to see it in order for you guys to even move forward. So if you cannot even fathom the idea of being with a person, that it's just let it go. And I'm such a nice person. I don't even know if anyone else struggles with this. So if you don't, then sorry for wasting your time with this little piece. But for me, when I connect with people, like on a friendship type of level where I just enjoy talking to you, then it's really hard for me if we're talking and you really like me and I just don't see us ever being able to be together. Like, that's really hard. And I think I've definitely talked to some men that have felt that way where they're like, I just don't see it. Like, I mean, I thought you were cute at first, but then as I got to know you and as I got around you, I'm like, just don't feel us being together. So that's that gut feeling, without even going into the prayer and meditation. Some people, they're so fun, they're so crazy, they're just so amazing. In some cases, they're so sexy, whatever, that you're just kind of like, yes, I love being around you, but I still don't know if you're quite it. You have to go dig a little deeper. You got to pray about it. You got to meditate about it. And then you get some answers. So, say you've really dealt with the deal breakers. You're like, okay, I know what my deal breakers are. I know what my value system is. I feel like this person is lining up. Okay, I'm feeling this person. Like, I like being around this person. This is a good connection. I'm feeling this. The last thing is give it some time. I do this, what do you think? thing with all of my friends, my loved ones. They know when we're sitting after we're talking for a while, I'm gonna be like, okay, so what do you think about this? So after I've done that several times, I've noticed a theme from those that are wise. They always say, okay, well, if they've gone through the process with you and they're this far, then you need to give it some time. You need to get around this person. You need to get to know this person. So, being that this one right here is a little impatient, just a little. If you know me, you're gonna be like, a little, really? But just a little. I'm just a little impatient. So that being said, that is hard for me to give it time. I like to know right away. So I like to do things like check boxes and I like to do exercises. That's the teacher in me because I am a teacher. I like to be able to go through a process and get to the end result. But with love, it doesn't quite work that way. You have to let it play out. You can't control it. You just got to let it play out. So that's my overall theme that I'm noticing a pattern with every situation. If you, for me, some of the deal breakers are you definitely got to be a good father. You definitely have to love God. You definitely have to have a career. You definitely have to be ambitious. You got to be all of these different things, which make a great guy. So I always go out with great guys. But then I'm like, okay, they're all these things, but I'm just not feeling it. And then sometimes I'm feeling it and I get myself all excited, like, okay, the passion is there. Yes. But then I'm like, I still don't know because that's still a tough decision. A lifetime with a person? Like, I really don't know. So when I go through all that, like a lot of times it's just that I haven't given it any time. I haven't really found out enough about the person. And I believe that, they say when you're over 30 that it doesn't take a long time to get to know. And I think in some cases that is true. However, when you are over 30, you are mature and you don't just jump into things. You don't just go from relationship to relationship to relationship. Why? Because it's not wise. It's not a wise thing to do to jump from one situation to another situation to another situation. Because what are you doing? Like, what are you really learning? And is that really taking care of you? In that situation, what did you learn from the situation when you do that? When you just jump from one situation to the next, another situation to another situation. So that being said, what's the lesson in all of this? Because I believe that there's nothing wrong with dating for data. When you are dating to get information about a person that could potentially be a lifelong partner for the rest of your life. If you are dating for data, then you got to learn in this process. So, what is the love lesson today? The one that you want is not always the one that you need. The one that makes you feel like yes, or for the guys, the one that just does it for you every time. She's not always the one that you need. The one that you fantasize about, she may not be the one that you need. The guy that all the ladies want, he may not be it for you. So you've got to be mature enough to know the difference. You have got to be mature enough to take that time, go through getting to know yourself, finding out what your deal breakers are, finding out what your values are, finding out what works for you, finding out what doesn't work for you. Then you've got to go through and do that spiritual work. You've got to be willing to do that, finding out what God says about it, not just what you think about it. You've got to be willing to do that. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to go through that process? And then after even that, you still have got to be willing to give it time and be patient with it. So while you may have friends and you may have family that's like, yeah, you need to get you somebody, especially if you haven't had kids. Like in my case, I had the kids, so it's like, it's not really that big of a deal. But as you continue to grow and develop, you start to see that there's some things that you would like to share with people. So while you may be happy and everything like that, you want to share it with somebody. So don't rush it, is the moral to the story. The love lesson is the one you want may not be the love that you need. So make sure you're talking to God about it, and make sure that you're being patient with yourself. And through the whole process, treat yourself like royalty. And when you mess up, remember that there's always more in you. So if you have any questions about anything that I talked about, or you have topic ideas, feel free to email me at deetradcarter@gmail.com. And you can also follow me at Deetra Carter on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Deetra Carter. So look for me. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. If you don't like this video, say something because I want to hear from you. I'm looking forward to your comments. If you have any questions, then definitely send me those questions about anything that I said. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, I want to hear it all. So again, treat yourself like royalty, and there is more in you. Until next time, goodbye, loves.